Hello, everyone. Welcome to Studio 7. I'm Mercedes Wilson.
And I'm Autumn Lewandowski.
And of course, we have to bring in our other co host, Matt Beauvais. Hey, Matt.
Hi, guys. What's going on? Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Wednesday.
Here we are.
Okay, Matt, you have to talk a little bit about where you are. I mean, for the folks that don't know.
My press box. my Wednesday's in the press box. There's the view. It's not bad, right? It's a pretty nice view.
Yeah.
Beautiful
nice
view.
Wednesday view.
I just sneak up here and we do this, and then it's back to practice. They finished practicing a little bit ago, but this is kind of where I come hang out. I don't want to be doing this around a bunch of other people just because I always feel weird having other people listen to me. So this is the quietest place I can find, so we're going to make the most of it.
Yeah, well, we're glad that you're with us today.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful view.
Yeah,
it is a beautiful view. There are going to be areas of showers into the afternoon. Beautiful sunshine earlier today, a little bit of a breeze. It was a nice fall day. And now we're kind of getting into the afternoon where you call it kind of the heat of the day coming in. And we have some rain showers that we'll contend with today. A lot like yesterday. And then towards the end of the week, a lot calmer here than, of course, everyone's eyes on Florida and Hurricane Milton right now.
Yeah. Do you want to give any updates on that?
Well, so Hurricane Milton, 125-mile-an-hour winds. That is a very strong Category 3 storm. It's moving northeast, starting to move quicker. So 17 miles an hour, likely to make landfall somewhere between Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Vero Beach, areas along that west coast. I'm just really just trying to pray for, because the storm surge on down in Tampa Bay, 8 to 10, maybe 12 feet or so. Areas just south of that, like Anna Maria Island. And again, as I was mentioning, Sarasota, they could have 13 feet of storm surge or something like that. Jeez. And outside of storm surge, they could have over a foot of rain in spots. So there's freshwater flooding that they have to contend with. And all day, the outer bands of the storm that have been coming on shore, they've been getting tornado outbreaks, and not just tiny tornadoes, like large damaging tornadoes. I mean, there've probably been 100 warnings so far, and they'll be ongoing all night.
Well, we have some people here talking about it. Jeff is saying, I have a stepson who did not make it out. Pray he will be okay. Deshaun said, we're bracing outside of Orlando. It's getting here tonight. And someone is currently stuck in Sarasota.
Yeah, Sarasota. I mean, from Venice, that's Englewood. That I'm not too familiar with, but even down to Sanibel, even Fort Myers, they'll get a storm surge with this too. And of course, we're watching this as it kind of makes that northeast and eastern jog towards the shoreline. 125-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, anything that was left on the sides of the roads are, going to be projectiles and, thrown all over the place. So anyone that's along the shore, I hope it heeded the warnings and have gotten out. Those that are kind of high enough that they're not worried about storm surge and inland enough, I just hope the aftermath isn't, too bad for them. They'll deal with power outages, and hopefully their water will be okay and stuff like that. But you see what your house is like afterward, but then you kind of have no services afterward too. So we'll just be watching it all night.
How does this even work? I mean, we've never experienced anything like a hurricane, but I mean, the power goes out, right? So you lose power most of the time. And then the cell phone towers, I'm assuming, don't work either. So like, how do you communicate? How do you check in on people? How do you make sure that those who are there are okay, or that you are checking in on the people around you? Like what even happens? How does that even work?
I mean, a couple weeks ago, they just dealt with it with Helene. So they didn't get the eye of the storm in these locations, but they had 7 feet of storm surge. So they had all of this stuff kind of happen prior to. I mean, you see it through Western North Carolina and Tennessee and even a part of Virginia and Georgia. They still, are trying to work without cell phone service. But I believe they have a lot of Starlinks kind of set up in these areas too. It's pretty impressive what Florida does because they are a hurricane state. Their light posts that they have along their interstates, on some of them, I don't know if it's all of them, but I've seen it firsthand. They come down. They don't stay at their normal,
Yeah.
full mass. They'll come down, and it looked very strange, driving down and the interstate and seeing these light posts that were only like 7 feet tall because they don't want to, be broken off and then fly in the wind too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I just hope everybody is safe in the path of this storm.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Prayers for everyone, and stay in touch the best you can with your loved ones, right?
That's exactly what you
Yeah.
have to do. They were saying, check on your neighbors, check on the people that can't leave, make sure they kind of have what they need, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
That's tough.
yeah,
That's a
so that's
tough one.
kind of the latest update with that. There will be a little bit more coming out closer to 5 o'clock too, but right now that update is 125-mile-per-hour winds. And the storm surge again has shifted slightly south of Tampa Bay, but still 8 to 12 feet is even higher than
Yeah.
what they dealt
Yeah.
with Helene. Yeah.
And I know the last time when we were talking about Helene, quite a few people got on here and asked, so what does that mean? Does that mean anything for us a few days down the road? Or
Right. So this, at least what will happen with this storm is that it moves pretty quickly once it crosses the state of Florida and then goes out to the Atlantic. The with so much rain that comes inland, so they'll have kind of inland freshwater flooding areas north. So say Orlando and north of that as well. And then the eastern seaboard potentially could have about 2 to 4 or maybe even 5 foot worth of storm surge there. So that's into Georgia, St. Augustine, through Cape Canaveral. So it's impacting a huge portion of Florida.
yeah. So to all of our friends, we're praying for you. Stay safe, and to all of us here and around the rest of the country, wherever you're watching from, keep in touch with those you love. And we'll be right back. Yeah, we have
Oh, that
quite a
was
few
another
comments.
7 minutes. I
Yeah.
wasn't even looking at that because I was trying to look at
Yeah.
trying to see the updates on Helene there, and then I wanna
Autumn
make
is
sure that I
autumn.
did.
Is it like what they expected? What everybody expected a couple days ago? Has it kind of stayed at the same strength? Has it gone down a little bit? I don't know how the hurricanes work, but I mean,
It's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
The cone always was between Tampa and kind of north of Fort Myers, and it's still looking like it might hit just south of Tampa, the Tampa Bay kind of proper, if you will. But with that, they could have the highest winds. So you're still looking at storm surge that could be 6, 8, 10 feet, but now you deal with the highest winds, and maybe the extra 3 or 4 feet of storm surge is now just to the south of you,
Hmm.
which is just insane.
is there any way of like knowing? I mean, we don't know because there's so many things that factor. But what usually causes more damage? The storm surge or just the winds itself?
I mean, storm surge of 9 feet is just catastrophic.
Yeah.
You couple that. I mean, we've been talking about, okay, the winds have depleted some. It is still a major hurricane, and not only a major hurricane at a category 3 strength, it's up there in category 3 strength right now. Category 3, I believe it's 110 miles an hour. So we're at 125. So
Jeez.
that's still a high category 3.
Yeah.
Now, over the next few hours, we'll see. Hopefully it can kind of lose a little more steam. It's getting sheared off a little bit more. Maybe it drops down before landfall, hopefully to a cat. I mean, as long as it keeps going down, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it could stay right where it is, So,
when is it supposed to hit? When's like the target time of like it making landfall?
It's later on tonight, past midnight. I think the last I saw was 2 a.m.
Ugh, my gosh.
Which, I mean, it's
Yeah.
awful in general,
Yeah.
but it's even worse in the middle of the night where you can't see
Yeah.
anything.
It's scary.
It is. It is scary. And we're getting a lot of comments of, all of our folks that are watching saying prayers. Lori says, and here comes Nadine.
Yeah. Well, let's one storm at a time.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting ready to come back. Welcome back to Studio 7, friends. Again, we are on Facebook, we are on X, and we are on YouTube. So for all of our friends that are watching from home, if you want to join the conversation during the breaks, you are more than welcome to. We would love to have you. We have really good conversation during the breaks. But we're going to have a little bit of a subject shift,
Okay.
a little bit.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about work. Are you
Ugh.
down to talk about?
No, we can talk about work. We can
Yeah,
work.
let's talk about work.
Yeah.
Working
Yeah.
double duty right now.
Yeah. Well, and this is for our viewers too.
Okay, yeah,
What
what
makes
are
a
we
good
talking
work
about?
environment? Let's talk about good work environment.
I would say having good people that you work with, number one. You want to
Mhm.
be around the people.
Yep.
Hopefully you have decent people that you're working around, right? You
Karen
want
is calling
that.
out both ways.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You want to be appreciated,
Mhm.
I would think.
Yeah.
Right. What do people think makes a good work environment? I would like to know what everybody kind of
Yeah. Good co-workers. Anne Marie has a good one. Being able to have a voice.
Yeah.
kind of feeling safe enough to say what's going on.
Yeah. What about you,
Yeah, I
Matt?
agree with that.
I think having co-hosts like Autumn and Mercedes and a producer like Alyssa is how you have a good work environment. I think that's all you need. I mean, I
Yeah.
think to
I second
Anne,
that.
I think to Anne Marie's point about being able to have a voice, I very much agree with that. I think that it's important to be able to speak up when things aren't going as you hope or that you think they could be better. I also think that comes with longevity. I think that comes with
Yeah.
time. I think that comes with experience. I think that if you've been somewhere long enough, hopefully you have built rapport with other people who you
Yep.
can have those conversations with. And sometimes they're not easy conversations because everybody's being pulled in a different direction and everybody is got different things that are stressing them out or different things that they're trying to overcome. And I think that's something to always keep in mind in the back of your head. Like to you, what you are dealing with is the most important thing going on, but that's not always the case for everybody else there. And I think that took me a long time to kind of figure out, it's like, this is what is making me stressed out, or this is what's something that I'm thinking about a lot today. Well, to your boss or to somebody else, that might be, so far down the totem pole that they've got so many other things going on that if they can just tell you like, listen, I know that this is important to you, but we'll get there when it is, when we have to. I think that sometimes that open line of communication goes a long way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it takes many pieces to make a good work environment. Like what Matt said and what you said, Autumn. I think all of that is important. I mean, and finding out what's important to certain people. I mean, it may not matter to you that that I like my coworkers because you're just like, hey, I just want to get to work and so respecting other people and where they are as well makes a good work environment too, because nobody is the same. Not everybody cares about the same thing.
That's right.
So
it's true.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too.
A lot of people are saying being appreciated.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Here's the question about being appreciated though. What means you're appreciated? Do you want to be appreciated by being told you're appreciated? Do you want to be appreciated by being compensated, which you think is fair to be appreciated? Because I think those are very different things, right? I think if you've got somebody telling you every day, hey, we really appreciate what you do and we think you're super valuable, that goes a long way. But I'd rather have none of that and be compensated to a level that you feel appreciated. I think that might mean more, right? I guess it just depends on the person.
Yep. I agree with that. I can agree with that. And I think it can be a little bit of both. Like I want to be compensated my worth. And I'm like, everybody's a little different, but I know for me being compensated my worth is big because a lot of us have families that we need to take care of. So if you're going to be away from your family, then you want to make sure you can provide.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's
This is a slippery slope doing a podcast talking about work environments while
I
we're
know.
working. Literally,
I
I'm
know.
like trying to think of like what I'm supposed to say, but also like what I can kind of say. Be like, hey, just who are listening, like, hey,
this
just
is a fun fact. But this is a fun fact, though. Listen to this. So the average person changes jobs 12 times in their lifetime. Does that
Wait,
seem like
what?
a high number?
What was the stat?
12 times in their lifetime. The average person changes jobs 12
Jobs.
times. Does
Ooh,
that seem excessive?
I think it depends on when they're starting, like what, like your career, like
Mhm.
as you're an adult, or like through high school, and you're kind of going through like
Yeah.
10 jobs between being 16 to 21 in college and all of that.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of jobs through then.
I was going to say,
Yeah, I did too.
if that's counting everything, that definitely seems like it's right. I wonder if there's like an age qualifier on that. I mean, everybody is, entering the workforce at a different time and has different responsibilities or different reasons why they're entering the workforce. Like I had like 4 high school jobs, it was like, oh, I worked at the grocery store in the parking lot. Our boss just commented that he's watching. We appreciate all of that. So thank you. I worked at the grocery store in the parking lot, and I was the guy who got the shopping carts. Then I worked at the fashion outlet mall in Niagara Falls. I was a camp counselor. So like I had a lot of different
Mhm.
like jobs that I would consider like part-time work, 20, 30 hours a week. But I mean, I've worked at Channel 7 for 11 years now.
Yeah.
So it's the only job I've had for 11 years. So I probably am way under the number, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and we just got a raise
Right.
from Peter.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
okay,
20% raise to everyone.
Yeah,
He's just
I like
passing out
that.
raises.
Yeah,
20%.
heck yeah.
That's like cost of living right now. 20%.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to, Mercedes, we're going to the sushi buffet to celebrate.
Yes!
The thing you were talking about yesterday, the
You
unlimited
get sushi and you get sushi.
Hell yeah.
So then what do y'all think about side hustles then?
I have one, so I guess that I definitely am for it. I mean, I do a podcast, a specific Buffalo Bills podcast with the radio station in town, WGR 550. So I've got a co-host, and we talk about strictly the Bills. So I'm all for side hustles. I think
Yeah.
that life is expensive. Things are
It
expensive,
is.
and
It
like
is.
this is to me, like I've always kind of thought of that as like, you do this and you add that onto your plate, and then it's a little bit of spending money. Not spending money to like just go be extravagant, right? Like spending money of like, oh, I want a new couch or something.
Yes.
So then you can go get a new couch, and then that can be the podcast for a couple months. So I think those little side hustles are super important.
Yeah. And you know what? We'll continue this conversation on the other side of the break. So for those of you watching at home, stay with us. Awesome. So for all the folks that are watching, we would love to know, what are your thoughts on side hustles?
The interesting thing about side hustles and like part-time jobs and stuff is, when does it become worth it? Because if you're putting in the time, how much do you need to be compensated to make it worth your while? Because I have learned, once again, I'm 31, so it is not like I've got this wealth of knowledge and experience here, but time does also equal money, right? So like the side hustle has become probably a bigger undertaking than I ever thought it would be. However, my time in my head is more valuable now that I have a family and a daughter. So you got to try and figure out that balance. And I don't know what the right answer is. Like, I'm still trying to figure out that balance because it's something that I enjoy. It's something that makes me a little bit of money. But I also know maybe if I do one less episode a week, it's another walk with my daughter and another dinner at home. So like, those are the things that I try and figure out.
Yeah. Well, I agree with Danielle. She says, I think you have to enjoy the side hustle.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have to figure out what is good for you. I know when I was chatting with a friend recently, she was saying, if you're going to do something on the side, then pick something you want that to take care of. So maybe it's a family trip. Maybe so then, you know what I mean? So then kind of what you're looking for. I was like, that's a good way to gauge it.
Yeah, that is a good way to think about it. And I as you get older, I think you also realize what should be taking time away from your family or not, or your time is valuable. Like I care much more about my time off than working overtime to get money from it now, if that makes sense. Way back when, that was not the case. I would have worked till I fell over.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
There's a time and a
not the
place.
case anymore.
There's a time and a place. I think as you're trying to carve your way into any job, into any industry, you've got to put in the work. You got to put in the hours, right? Like
Yeah.
if that means you got to work 20 days in a row, you got to work 20 days in a row. I still think that you always need to be grinding regardless of how much time and effort you have put in. But you also do need to figure out what that balance is. And it's really hard sometimes to say no, especially depending on how you're wired, right? Like if something's going on, you want to be involved, but you just, to be healthy and have a balance, sometimes you have to say no. And like, that's something you have to learn. And I still probably am not all the way there, but eventually you have to be, because you can't be pulled in so many different directions all the time.
Yeah. If you don't do it, your body will make you. At some point, you have to prioritize.
Yeah.
You got to prioritize.
Yeah.
And we're coming back. Welcome back to Studio 7, everyone. We're having a really good conversation about side hustles.
Side hustles, and when it's worth your time, and when can money be more important than your time, and how does that balance out as you get older, or even, wherever, what stage in life you are. So
I mean,
it was an interesting conversation.
It is.
Mercedes, you have a side hustle, but it's also something that it seems like you're very passionate about, right?
I have 2 of them. I have 10 of them.
Yeah.
But you know what? These are things that I talk about with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes my kids will look at me and say, Mom, you are doing way too much. And then sometimes I'm like, hey, I would really like to do this. This is a great opportunity for me to learn more in this. Or, I really take a liking to doing this. And there's compensation. So we can put it toward our family trip.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So they know every time I leave, I'm not only doing something that I love to do, but I'm doing something that's going to benefit the whole family. So there's give and take.
For sure.
And I think it's great to have your family, your kids, see you have such a work ethic, to show, hey, Mom does this and she takes care of us and provides for us. I saw that my whole life with my parents. They worked all the time. I didn't have a stay-at-home parent. So it was just ingrained in me that I work. And now I see it with my daughter. I'm like, oh, I absolutely am heartbroken every time I have to leave her, or I can't see her get off it sounds ridiculous, or not getting her off the bus, but she sees Mama work and she goes, oh, Mama's working. She'll see what kind of clothes I'm in and know whether or not I'm going straight to work, or I can see her for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's important.
Yeah, it is. And Matt, do you agree that you have to like it? You have to like the...
I would. Yes, I agree. I mean, once again, kind of give and take here. I think I would rather have a side hustle that was unbelievably lucrative. If you know what I mean, like if it was something that was so good you couldn't pass it up, but you didn't love it, I think I might like that more than something that you enjoy. Yeah, it depends on your real job, though. I don't want to say real job, because side hustles are real jobs. It depends on your full-time job. I think if you really like your full-time job, then maybe the side hustle could be something that you don't like as much because you don't do it as much, but you also get paid pretty well. Or if you don't like your real job, your full-time job, maybe your side hustle is something that you absolutely love, but it doesn't compensate you as well. I think you have to have the balance. To me, I spend more time doing my full-time job than my side hustle. I like them both, which is a really great bonus. But I think it's more important to like your full-on career or your full-time job or whatever you were spending more time doing, because if you don't, that's when you're going to wear yourself out.
Yep. And Adam, Peggy is with you. Totally not ridiculous. I was a stay-at-home mom with 5 kids, and I totally appreciate you wanting to be there, even for bus time.
Oh, thank you.
It's very important.
I think it is. With what Matt was saying, I think as I've gotten older, it's always great to make a ton of money. But as he was saying, if you made if it was more lucrative in your side hustle, but you're spending more time away, I don't think that makes you happier. Like, I think you would have less of a happy vibe in your life, if you will.
Yeah.
Even though you had the money.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I would rather
I
have
can agree with you on that.
My grandfather immigrated from Italy when he was like in his late teens. And I remember he passed away when I was 10. so I don't have a ton of memories of him, like for my, just limited time with him. But my mom used to always say, my grandpa had a line where he's like, I know money can't buy happiness, but I would like to give it a try. And I always think about that. And I'm like, I've also heard people say, like, money can't buy happiness, but money can buy a boat. And have you ever seen somebody upset on a boat? And I think of that a lot too. I'm like, I'd like to give it a try.
Yeah. I mean,
I get that.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. You can also have friends
I'd
that
like
have
to
a
try.
boat that don't give you any stress.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's see what some of the
Oh my
folks are saying.
gosh.
Oh, Connie's talking up. Let's see. Side hustle as a retired person need to balance staying under earnings cap.
Oh, that's a good point.
You
That's a
gotta
really
walk
good
the
point.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one. And I'll tell you, my side hustle is only going to go for so long. It's not going to go much longer because you're right. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I do, a side hustle, it's long term, but then at some point you need help.
Right.
At some
Yeah.
point, that side hustle will grow a little bit, or you get a little bit of help that can help manage that because something's going to suffer at some point, your family or
Right.
yeah. So you can't keep taking
something
away.
always does.
Yeah.
You know what we did yesterday? I feel like we
What?
should make this a routine. Remember yesterday how we were talking about like what's our final thought before we like wrap
Yeah.
up the show? Maybe that could be like something we do every day. Do you have like a final
I like
thought?
it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a
Okay.
nice way of like ending the show. It doesn't have to be about anything we even talked about. It could just be something completely random as we say goodbye.
We've got about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I'm
give a
going to
final
say
thought.
Skittles are number one, not
Yeah.
Kit Kats.
That's trash, but okay. What about you?
Me, my brain is still with Hurricane Milton
Yeah.
and the people on the coast
Yeah.
of Florida. So I just hope that everybody stays safe through this, and we'll be with you the next several hours through tonight.
Yeah. And you, Beauvais, last words.
No reason to panic about the Bills. I'm sitting here at Bills practice today. Plenty of season left. Everybody calm down a bit.
Oh, that's good. Thank you all for watching Studio 7. We'll see you tomorrow. Final thought, 20% raises. And let's all meet at Steak and Seafood Restaurant. All you can eat the cheesecake.